You're about to see how crazy my brain really works. You're about to see how crazy my brain really, really works. All right, so if you saw my video from earlier, I bought a whiteboard and I made my brackets. I wrote down the teams and I'm doing my predictions. I'm filling out my brackets online. Let me be clear about that. But I'm also trying to keep up with it on my whiteboard. So what I was thinking I want to do tonight is run through some of my predictions. I've already done the West region. I might recap on that. Not sure. I apologize about the ring light. That's the best lighting I could come up with without getting a glare on the board. So we're going to look at some matchups and see how crazy some of these predictions that I've come up with really are. It's not as crazy as you really think. Especially the one that I'm getting a lot of crap for would be the 15 seed Grand Canyon taking out the 2 seed Iowa. That one right there is getting me some major heat. And that's fine. I get it. That's a crazy prediction. I get it. But it's not as crazy as you might think. All right? Well, it might be a little bit crazy. But still, I have a method to my madness. So, the big thing, whenever I first saw that matchup, and I saw an article that said that the coach for Grand Canyon was the same dude that made that crazy last-second shot for Valparaiso. They were a 15 seed. They beat the 2 seed Ole Miss. Well, in this scenario, Grand Canyon is the 15 seed and Iowa is the 2 seed. So he has straight-up experience with that. But Grand Canyon also has the defense to back up that prediction. Their schedule is crap. We all know that. And they've lost to some bad teams. But their defense is legit. So it's not as crazy as it actually seems. Thank you, C-Dog, for the 1999 Super Chat. That is a whopper. He says, oh, now I feel bad. I want it to be your first Super Chat, but oh well, congrats on getting monetized and good luck in your YouTube career. I appreciate that. I honestly wish that you could have been my first Super Chat, but that kind of happened on Sunday. It happens. It's all good. I still appreciate it. This was the same guy that allowed me to bunk in his room at the Slob Olympics because I was an idiot and I waited too long to book a room and it got crazy expensive. He allowed me to bunk with him. That's the same dude. Let's see who else we got in here. We got Nick Navarro, Rice Farrell, C-Dog, Scott. Big time OG subscriber, Scott. Shout out to you, buddy. The Lincoln Stevens Show. Ballard Sports Media in the house. What's going on, bud? And like I said, I apologize about the lighting. I tried 3,000 different ways. This is the best lighting. I know you can't really see me all that well, but this is the best lighting for the whiteboard because whenever I have my studio lights on, it glares. You can't see anything. So I'd rather you see the whiteboard than see me. It's a little bit more important. And yes, you can see the ring light, but without the ring light, you wouldn't see me at all. So this is the best combination I could have came up with. So it looks like everybody's in the house. Josh Scritchfield. Did I say that right? Josh Scritchfield. Yeah, I think I said that right. What's going on, bud? Thanks for stopping by. All right, so I'm going to get on my laptop. We're going to look at these matchups. So it's going to be a little bit of back and forth because I got my laptop over there. The cords are kind of stretched out. Whiteboard's over here. So it's going to be a little bit of back and forth. So just Bear with me. Here we go. So there's the matchup you see between Iowa and Grand Canyon. If you look at Grand Canyon's defense, they only allow 61.1 points per game. That's second in the nation. And a lot of people, their blowback is, well, they didn't play anybody. And I get that. But if you watch them play, they literally shut teams down. They won their regular season conference straight up, and they won their tournament of the same conference straight up. So they pretty much own their conference. And that's why I'm giving Grand Canyon a legitimate shot at beating Iowa. And Iowa's been they've been kind of rusty recently. They had a stretch where Iowa looked really, really good. Iowa looked like a 1 seed there for a while. I had Iowa as a 1 seed. If you keep up with my channel, you know that I had Iowa as a 9 seed. It's just what they've done recently. Kind of shaky. Grand Canyon, on the other hand, they've gotten a little bit hot. They're 4 out of 5. They're getting hot at the right time. So that's why, and I've looked at all the 5s and 2s. This is the only one that I give really any chance of an upset. It's a long shot. It's probably crazy. But because of the head coaching scenario and Grand Canyon's defense, that's why I give them a shot. So I'm just trying to explain my madness to that particular pick. Now, I already have the West filled out. That's filled out. I'm having a little bit of trouble with the South region because there's some matchups. If you watched my live show on Sunday, I already did my bracket, but that was kind of like shooting off the hip, not really doing any due diligence. Since then, I've kind of learned some things because you don't know everything about each team right when they're put out. I know bits and pieces, most of what I need to know, but not everything, like injuries, COVID issues, tendencies, stuff like that. So I've kind of adjusted my picks. One of the ones, and actually it affected my West, and that was the Oregon VCU game. Now, in my live show, my first live show on Sunday, I picked VCU. Well, their leading scorer, I think he recovered from his injury, but he did have an injury, and Oregon is a little bit more hotter than I realized. They lost in their conference tournament, but they're a little bit hotter than I realized. So I actually switched that pick, and VCU got beat by St. Bonaventure fairly convincingly. So I kind of flip-flopped that pick, and I have Oregon beating VCU. We'll see how that goes. Not sure. WVU Prod in the house, which, by the way, I caught his show earlier. He actually did a good job. Shout out to him. Good job, buddy. And now Rise has to go. That's all right, buddy. I understand. But yeah, that's one that I had to flip-flop. Now, the biggest concern I have right now is Kansas. I do have Kansas going to the Final Four. They got hot at the right time. Yes, they dealt with COVID issues in the Big 12 tournament and had to pull out. But I think they're going to have all their players available. But that's still the big issue, though. If they don't, then that's not going to be a good pick because Gonzaga will eat anybody in that West except Kansas alive. But if Kansas is not at full strength, then it's not going to be a go for Kansas. Kansas will probably get beaten Sweet 16, something like that. So this is on the premise that Kansas will be at full strength. Injuries happen, COVID happens, so you kind of got to roll with the punches. Scott says, from what I heard, Baylor has been practicing on themselves and the associate head coach as well, as Scott Drew said, that they have had a great practice and getting better in terms of rotation. The thing with Baylor is Baylor got put in probably the most difficult bracket of them all. I want to take a look at that bracket. I'm glad you mentioned that because they got put in a whopper of a bracket. And my team, West Virginia, the opposite. They got put in the easiest bracket. So I'm going to look at Baylor's bracket real quick. If you look at Baylor's bracket, that North Carolina-Wisconsin matchup is probably one of the toughest 8-9 matchups of any bracket. The only one that I think would be comparable would be Loyola Chicago and Georgia Tech. I think those two teams were way underseeded. I think Loyola Chicago, they finished the season ranked. Loyola Chicago finished the season ranked. So, in my opinion, I think Loyola Chicago was at least a 5 seed. Even that's a little iffy, but at least a 5 seed. Georgia Tech finished on a 9-game winning streak. They won the ACC, and you give them a 9 seed? That doesn't make any sense to me. To me, a low ball would have been a 7 seed. So, my point is, besides the Loyola-Georgia Tech 8-9 matchup, Baylor gets the winner of a pretty tough 8-9 matchup. And then besides that, Villanova's not a tough 5. But Purdue, very tough 4. Arkansas, an extremely tough 3. I had Arkansas as a 2 seed. So that raises the bar of that particular region right off the bat. And then Ohio State as a 2 seed. And then you have the 7-10 matchup between Florida and Virginia Tech. I think that's probably the toughest 7-10 matchup. Personally, I would have had Florida the 10 seed and Virginia Tech the 7 seed, but, whatever. This one has been crazy. Hold on, let me, you can't see that side. Hold on. I had to switch it over because I was in the way. I forget the brackets. So as I'm switching from one side to the other, I'm going to have to switch my face. So like I said, this particular setup I haven't mastered, and I probably need 2 people to do this, but you know what? That's okay. I'm going to do it. So now we can see Baylor's side of the bracket. So like I was saying, the 7-10 matchup, Florida, Virginia Tech. I thought Florida would have been the 10 seed and Virginia Tech the 7. Either way, I think that's probably the toughest bracket out there, especially if you compare that to Gonzaga. But the thing is, like I said, Gonzaga was the number 1 overall seed. And what did I say in my videos? The number 1 overall seed usually gets the easiest brackets. I don't think that's the easiest region, but the second easiest, yes. I actually think West Virginia has the easiest region, but that's a different conversation. Baylor, on the other hand, has the toughest region. So I wanted to look at the North Carolina-Wisconsin matchup because I think North Carolina has a really good shot at going super deep in this tournament. I think the 8th seed for North Carolina is way, way too low or way too high, however you want to say it. I think they should have been a higher seed, like a 6th seed. They got really hot towards the end of the year. In the middle of the season, I didn't have North Carolina. I had North Carolina as a bubble team. This was like 4 weeks ago, but they have come on strong. So North Carolina could be a very, very dangerous team. I think they have a shot to get the Final Four. It depends on how they do against Baylor. I think they have a good shot. But let's look at the North Carolina-Wisconsin matchup. The problem with these two teams is they haven't played well against quality opponents. North Carolina is 2-4 against the top 25, and Wisconsin is 3-6. Scratch that. Wisconsin is 3-9. That's what I'm talking about. Wisconsin. They were hot there for a while, and they've gotten cold. North Carolina was cold, and they got hot. So it's kind of the opposite. That's why I think North Carolina will win this matchup. And I do think they have a chance to beat Baylor because of their coaching, their experience, and they have gotten hot recently. I know that's a stretch. I really do. But if you look at Baylor, ever since they came back from COVID, they haven't quite looked the same. They did get a couple of good wins, but that's when they got all of their losses. Whenever they came back from COVID, that's when they got all of their losses. So I think right now, the break might help Baylor. I'm not sure. But right now, Baylor's still trying to get back to being Baylor. So I think North Carolina could catch Baylor at the right time, if that makes any sense. And that's why I think North Carolina has a legitimate shot. And they've been hot recently. And it really matters who's hot, who's on the uptrend, and who's on the downtrend when it comes to March Madness. People don't realize that. You stick a cold team, even if they get a 3, 4, 5 seed into the tournament, they're not going to go very far because they're cold. You get a hot team, even if they're a lower seed, 8, 9, 7, whatever, they're going to go deeper, probably Sweet 16, maybe Final Four. So getting hot at the right time definitely matters, and I think North Carolina is hot at the right time. That's what I wanted to show you guys. North Carolina 18-10, and they finished 5th in the ACC. But if you look at their last 10, 15 games, they only have like 3 losses. It was the beginning of the season that tripped them up, and they were beating really good teams. Most of those losses against top 25 was towards the beginning of the season. At the end of the season, they were starting to beat the better teams, and that's why I think North Carolina could definitely beat Baylor and get to this Sweet 16. That's the matchup that I'm really focused on as far as the South region, because that's going to determine my brackets. I think North Carolina is definitely going to beat Wisconsin. It's, can they stay hot enough to beat Baylor, and is Baylor going to be fully recovered from this slump they're going to be in? And my money is actually on North Carolina. I think Baylor's not going to be recovered enough, and North Carolina is going to stay hot. And I think North Carolina could actually ride that all the way to the Final Four because of the potential matchups after Baylor. Baylor's going to be their toughest matchup. If they get past Baylor, they have a nice path towards the Final Four. So whenever I did my live show on Sunday, that was one of the craziest reactions is whenever I had North Carolina in my Final Four. But the key to that Final Four is one game, and that's Baylor. If they get past Baylor, North Carolina's a Final Four team. I'm going to tell you that right now. If North Carolina does get past Baylor, they are a Final Four team because the matchups favor North Carolina after Baylor. But they have to get past Baylor. So that's what makes people think that that's a crazy pick. And I understand that. I get it. But if you really break it down, it's not all that crazy. It comes down to one game. Let me take a look at some comments to see how crazy you guys think I am. All right, so we got the Lincoln Stevens Show. LSU should have beat Bama and Michigan. It's without some guys and aren't looking good lately. Should be easy ride to the Final Four. I'm not sure about that. The first game that LSU has in the Big Dance is against St. Bonaventure, and those guys are playing with some extreme confidence. Now, in my live show, whenever they released the brackets, I did pick LSU, but then I went back and looked at how hot St. Bonaventure is right now. I might have to flip that pick, a mild upset, because St. Bonaventure is a really, really good team, and they did really well in a really good conference. Anthony JCP, how dare the NCAA try to put Illinois teams against each other? Yeah, I didn't even touch on that. That's a good point, actually. Les Bullis, welcome home, WVU Prod. Are you talking about this channel or back to West Virginia? I'm kind of confused on that one. But he also says, don't sleep on Illinois. Kofi Cockburn and those other two guys, I'm not even are a big three. I do agree with that. Illinois does have a very good big game. They have some big players. Problem is, whenever Illinois comes up against a team that can shoot very, very well, they have issues. Like if Illinois were to play Gonzaga, I would have Gonzaga because Gonzaga just shoots the ball way better than Illinois. So it wouldn't really matter having those bigs. Rye says, although I disagree with some stuff, I love that you use actual reasoning instead of other YouTuber channels. I mean, that's what I try. I mean, it still might come off as crazy, and that's fine, but there's actual reasons to, my picks. So, and I try to give those actual reasons. JCP also says, Ohio State is a one-player team. Liddell, if he's cold, the team is cold. I 100% agree with that. I actually had Ohio State as a 3 seed, but I'm guessing the committee valued getting to the Big Ten enough to get Ohio State to a 2 seed. I think Ohio State's going to be exposed because, like you said, when he's cold, they are cold. And we saw a stretch where he was cold, and what happened? Ohio State had like a 4-game losing streak. You can't have a 4-game losing streak in the big dance. You're one and done. He has one bad game, Ohio State's done. That's why I don't have the Buckeyes going far. I guess I have to read this because my brother sent it, and it's a super chat. He says, all I want to know is who let the dogs out, who. If you're old enough, you know that song. And I will honor the super chat code and say it on my show because he super chatted. But, man, that was tough. But I got it out. If y'all don't know, that's my brother. He is goofy sometimes. But that's a good super chat. I liked it. I got through it. You challenged me, and I got through it. I appreciate that. JCP also says, winner of Michigan State versus UCLA is primed for a run. I disagree, only because I think that game is going to be a battle. I think whoever comes out of that game is going to come out beaten, bloodied, and bruised. I think whoever comes out of that game is going to be primed for a beatdown. I can see where your rationale comes in, but if you look at both of those two teams, they're not hot right now. Michigan State doesn't even belong in the big dance, and that's going to be a battle. So whoever comes out of that game is going to get whooped, in my opinion. But you could be right. I'm not saying you're completely wrong, but I kind of see it the other way around. So let's move on. Let's see. Do I want to do the East region or the Midwest? We're going to move on to the Midwest where my team is. This is to be honest with you, out of all the regions, this one really baffled me. The seedings where everybody was at, it really, really baffled me. So let me pull that up real quick, and I'm going to talk about it real quick. So this is, in my opinion, the easiest bracket. Now, the 1 seed Illinois, I agree with that. They get the 16 seed Drexel. That's going to be cake. But the 8-9 matchup after that, Loyola Chicago and Georgia Tech. Number one, that's going to be a great game. But that is a tough 8-9 matchup. Probably the toughest, and then right behind that would be the North Carolina-Wisconsin. I had Georgia Tech as a 5 or 6 seed, and I had Loyola Chicago as a 5 or 6 seed. So I think they are vastly underseeded, and I think the winner of that I'm going to say it straight up. I think the winner of that, and I have Georgia Tech winning that, will beat Illinois. I have Georgia Tech winning that because they're hot. They just won the ACC. After they beat Loyola, that'll be 10 games in a row. They'll have a bunch of confidence. Illinois is probably either the weakest or the second weakest number one team, depending on who you talk about, who you talk with about Michigan, either or. So, yeah, I have Illinois going out in the second round to Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech gets hot in the Big Dance. Not a Final Four team hot, but close. I think hot enough to beat Illinois. So that's a bad setup for Illinois. And then under that, you have Tennessee and Oregon State. Why they put Tennessee as a 5 seed is beyond me. Tennessee is super, super, super cold right now. They don't have the resume. They don't have the record to be a 5 seed. That would blow my mind. Nevertheless, they're a 5 seed. They're going to take on the 12 seed Oregon State. Oregon State got hot in the Pac-12. They wouldn't have made the tournament had they not won the Pac-12. But they did. But having said that, 17-12 isn't terrible. That's going to be a good game. I still have Tennessee winning that, but I'm not super sure on that because Tennessee isn't all that great. But under that, you have Oklahoma State and Liberty. Oklahoma State, the 4 seed, and my team, West Virginia, the 3 seed. That doesn't make any sense because Oklahoma State beat West Virginia 2 out of 3 times. I know West Virginia finished one notch above Oklahoma State because of winning percentage, but Oklahoma State also got to the Big 12 championship, and West Virginia got knocked out in the first round by Oklahoma State. So even that 3-4, my team, who benefited from that seeding, doesn't make sense to me. I'll take it. That's a gift. We better make the best of it, but the seeding itself doesn't make sense. I've been high on Liberty for a while, but I do think Oklahoma State is a better team because they shoot the ball better. Liberty has a good defense, and Oklahoma State is back to full strength with Cade Cunningham. But even without Cade Cunningham, they still beat West Virginia. So that's why I thought Oklahoma State was going to get the 3 seed and West Virginia was going to get the 4 seed. Well, it turned out opposite, and it is what it is. And then after that, San Diego State and Syracuse. I had Syracuse as a bubble team, but I had them in. San Diego State has benefited from a weak conference. They got hot for a while, and then they've been shaky. San Diego State doesn't have a great defense. What is Syracuse known for? That zone defense. That's why I think that will carry Syracuse into the second round. And that gives Syracuse and West Virginia an old Big East rematch. So let me punch those in real quick for the Midwest region. Now I'm going to work on the very bottom of this bracket. Before I do that, though, like I said, I have Georgia Tech beating Illinois. I think they stay hot. That's just tough luck for Illinois, in my opinion. I don't think they're a bad team. I just think it's a bad draw for them. And then Oklahoma State is just they're a better team than Tennessee. And I know this is looking different than what I said in the first live show, but I was just kind of shooting from the hip on that. And then I had Syracuse beating San Diego State. I think that zone shuts them down. That's an old Big East rivalry. West Virginia is the better team, so I have West Virginia advancing past Syracuse. And then the bottom half, you have the 7-seed Clemson against the 10-seed Rutgers. The 10-seed Rutgers, are you kidding me? They don't even deserve to be in the Big Dance. That's an easy pick. I'm taking Clemson, but if you look at the what Vegas says, the spread, they actually have Rutgers favored. What am I missing? I've done the research. Clemson has a better record, better wins. Their stats are better as far as points per game and points against per game. It just doesn't make sense. But regardless of Vegas, I'm going to take Clemson. And then the very bottom, Houston, I'm going to take them out of that first. I'll take them to win that first matchup. But that game against Clemson, I don't think Houston is all that good. They have 2 terrible losses, including a mind-blowing loss to East Carolina. That doesn't make any sense. So I think Houston could be the shakiest 2 seed of the entire NCAA tournament. They could be out real quick. I have them getting past the first round, but I don't have them getting past Clemson. I'm going to keep rolling with Georgia Tech. I think they stay on fire. They're looking really, really good. I think they're good enough to beat Oklahoma State. And then West Virginia, I don't think they'll have any problem with Clemson. I don't. So that brings up a great matchup between Georgia Tech and West Virginia. This is a tough one to pick, but when West Virginia does get on fire, our shooters are unstoppable. It's when we get cold. And the problem is, we like to get down by double digits and then try to battle our way back. I think if we can avoid that, and I think we do, then that's when we can advance against tougher teams. And that's why I think West Virginia has the better shot of winning this game right here. I know, it looks like a homer pick. West Virginia in the Final Four. He's a West Virginia fan. You knew I was going to do it. But there's still some logic behind it. West Virginia was stuck in the easiest bracket, in my opinion. If you look at the other 3 regions, they're not even close. I mean, Rutgers in our bracket, that's crazy. They shouldn't even be in. The only issue that I had was Georgia Tech and Loyola Chicago being, their seed was way off. And that's why I have Georgia Tech advancing to the Elite 8 playing West Virginia. But I think West Virginia's a better team. But it wouldn't surprise me if Georgia Tech won that game either, because like I said, they've been on fire. So I completed my West region on my regular video. I have Kansas coming out of that. So now out of the Midwest region, I have West Virginia coming out of that. So tomorrow I'm going to drop another video. I'm going to explain the statistics behind my picks on this, and I'll probably drop another live show for the other 2 regions, the South region and the East region. I'm trying, if this looks rushed, it's because it is. I'm trying to get this done before the big dance actually starts. So we got the West region done and the Midwest region done. That in a regular video, this in a live. Tomorrow, same situation. Haven't decided what's going to be what. So I'm going to try to give you actual reasoning instead of just guessing, statistics, who's hot, who's not, better matchups, all that stuff. So it is going to look different from the first live show that I did because I was just shooting from the hip. More research, and hopefully it will make more sense to you. So I appreciate everybody stopping by. Hopefully it'll make sense by the time I'm done with this. I know that looks like a homer pick, but it's truly not. So